So good afternoon to all. I have the pleasure to welcoming you at our first dissemination activity to present the first chapter of our benchmarking study 2022-25. And also we are launching today our interactive tool dashboard. However, before I present the study objectives, research areas, countries we are covering, and also our team, of course, I wanted to thank you for finding the time to join us today. I hope that everything will go smoothly, even it's Friday 13th. But let's start. What exactly will be our agenda today? So I will have a pleasure to do a short introduction to the benchmarking study we are realizing for the Dutch Ministry of Interior and Kingdoms relation, what it's the objective, countries covered, time frame, etc. And after we propose to go directly into the fundings of the research of the performance of public administration in 35 countries. So we'll present the study results. After directly, we will go into the introduction of our dashboard and the public administration related data. We will show you exactly where to find the chapter, where to find the dashboard, how does it work, how we can use it, how can be useful for all of us. And after that, because we only have a limited time, I will have a pleasure to present you next steps and what will be exactly the dashboard development. So we have the pleasure to work in a very close cooperation with the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relation of the Netherlands. And we can realize this project thanks to the grant from the ministry. And I have a pleasure to present project leader from the ministry, Mr. Frans van Dongen. Thank you very much to be with us today. And I would like to give you the floor, Frans.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. It's a pleasure to work with you together and with the whole team of EIPA. Good afternoon, everybody. I warmly welcome you all to this EIPA webinar on measurement and international benchmarking of public performance and the launch of the benchmark dashboard. My name is Frans van Dongen, as explained by Yvonne, and I'm a program manager of public performance at the Ministry of the Interior and Kingdom Relations in the Netherlands. And I'm also the ministry's representative in EIPA's Board of Governors and a Dutch member of the Steering Committee for the European Public Sector Awards, EIPA's award scheme for public sector excellence and innovation. The Dutch Ministry of the Interior has already a very long tradition of international benchmarking of public performance, going back to the 90s in the last century. And we are very happy that we could establish a fruitful relationship with EIPA a couple of years ago to deepen this tradition with an extensive 4 years benchmark program for 35 countries. We strongly believe that policymakers can learn a lot from international comparisons of public performance in different kind of functional policy domains. And this is not just about winners and score lists, it is about identifying mechanisms, policy systems, interventions, and contexts that are relevant to become more successful, get better public value, better outcomes, more efficiency, and more satisfied citizens and entrepreneurs. And a part of international learning from best practices, it is also valuable to learn from examples of underperformance or failures, to learn why specific mechanisms and interventions don't work in specific contexts, and to prevent that these kind of failures will be repeated. Systematically learning from failures is of great value. And lastly, it is of greatest importance to bring these kind of study results to the attention of policymakers and stimulate them to use them for design of policies. And therefore, we welcome from the Ministry of the Interior the initiatives of EIPA to organize webinars like this one and to disseminate the study results. And especially, we welcome today the launch of the benchmark dashboard to make the data user-friendly, accessible for policymakers. And it is interesting to see that even the European Commission now has started initiatives in this field with the EU project Building Capacity for Evidence-Informed Policymaking. That's really our goal together with the European Commission. And let me now give the floor back to Ivona Karwood, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Franz, for your very kind words. And I propose that we continue with the presentation of our benchmarking 2022-2025 EIPA team. So I would like to give you the floor, Miranda, if you could please start first.
Of course, thank you. So I'm Miranda. I work at EIPA as a researcher and have been involved both in the research for the public administration chapter, some of the other chapters that we're working on last year and this year, and also with the dashboard. Paolo.
Thank you. My name is Paolo Giovannetti. I'm a research assistant here at EIPA. I've also been involved in the preparation of the dashboard as well as the writing of the public administration chapter, which is the object of today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Bjorn, please.
My name is Bjorn Halbling. My role at EIPA is the one of an analyst and as a digitalization officer, and that's why my main input in this lovely team is helping to bring the dashboard to the life. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Maybe I should also present myself. I'm Ivona Karwood. I'm working here in European Institute for Public Administration already since 15 years, and I have the pleasure to be a project leader and work with all our colleagues on a regular basis. So I propose that we go very quickly into the presentation of the benchmarking study we are realizing right now for the Ministry of Interior. As already Franz mentioned, we are covering 35 countries, so European Union, 27 member states, also United Kingdom, Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, but also we are covering Canada, United States, Australia, and New Zealand. And our benchmarking study covers 10 different policy areas, which means that we are analyzing performance of public administration in 10 different policy areas in 35 different countries. So it's quite, I would say, important study. So that's why we are so happy to do so. As already Franz mentioned before, it's already the fourth edition of the report. The previous one was prepared by Dutch Research Institute, SCP, and was published in 2015. We agreed with the Ministry of Interior that we will update the third report, but also we will do much more in-depth analysis, and we will do the analysis of 10 different policy areas separately. We agreed also that we will evaluate the effectiveness, efficiency, cost effectiveness, but also what is important, I would say, in our study, trust of citizens, enterprises, and other relevant stakeholders from available products, services provided by public administration in long-term perspective. And because this analysis is so broad, we agreed with the ministry that we will divide the study into sub-studies. So in 2022, we analyzed 4 policy areas, and so public administration, and I'm happy to share today with the team and with the ministry the results of the study, also education, housing, social safety. And in the current year, we are finalizing already the sub-study 23 in covering economy, infrastructures, science, technology, innovation, social security, employment, income and wealth, and also environmental protection and climate change, which is quite important. All of them very important topics for all of us. We already started the preparation of the 2024 sub-study covering additional 3 policy areas, so health, sport, culture, and participation, and also social security system. Quite challenging will be the year 2025 because we will update all 10 policies areas in all 35 different countries. And of course, during the preparation process of the benchmarking study, we are organizing cooperation meetings, which are really very important for all of us. And we have, I would say, 3 different types of meetings we are doing. So between all partners together, ministry and APA team, also between partners individually responsible for each of mentioned chapter with the ministry and APA, and also whenever it's needed, meetings between partners and our team. We are using quantitative and qualitative analysis. When we are talking about data, we are using all available data since 2007 until whenever it's possible, even this year. And also already existing source of information, literature. And as we already mentioned before, we are very happy to introduce you to our interactive dynamic data navigation tool today, and which is providing insight of the most important data at the glance. And our study, sub-study 2022, and also the chapter on public administration are publicly available on our website, and we will continue with the updating data during the year 2024, 25, and also 2026, of course. So where to find the information? The information is on our website of APA on the front page, and here you can see exactly where we can go to search for all information. So I would like to invite you right now to the presentation of the results of the first chapter of our benchmarking study and 2022 sub-study, so public administration, and it will follow by the presentation of our interactive dynamic data dashboard tool. So thank you very much, and I would propose that my colleague Christoph Klicker, who was responsible for the public administration chapter, present himself and the study results. So thank you, Christoph, to be here with us today. And please, the floor is yours.
Are we on? Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Ivona, for the introduction. Franz, good to see you. Good afternoon, everybody. It is a great, and I'm very honored for the invitation to present to you very briefly the main results, perhaps to some extent, but also a little bit the thinking behind of our public administration chapter, which can be seen as a sort of an introductory chapter, a precursor chapter to the broader study, which Ivona was introducing, analyzing 10 policy areas over a large time frame. My name is Christoph Klicker from the European Institute of Public Administration. As Ivona said, I was contributing to the public administration chapter together with the entire benchmarking team here at AIPA. And I would like to very briefly just walk you through a little bit the thinking behind the public administration chapter. So for you to perhaps better understand, there we go, to better understand the dashboard and its functioning. And of course, I'll try to be very brief because the dashboard really is the star of the show for this today's webinar. So we would like to leave enough time for you to really be introduced to the dashboard and to understand how it works so that you can make the best use and the most of it. So very briefly, why are we dealing with public administration? Well, obviously, public service delivery in the various policy areas which are subject to the study are ultimately dependent and contingent on the broader environment in which they are implemented, they are being designed. So public administration provides the broader environment in which service delivery takes place. So we want to provide an overview of this environment, the different system characteristics of various public administrations across the entire population of our countries that are subject to the study. And in doing so, we aim to identify key changes, challenges, and various trends in this environment which affect public service delivery. You're probably familiar with those. We refer to them as the 5 Ds, key trends, meta trends, key challenges, which also affected the other areas. And we zoom in a little bit on those also with public administrations. And by doing so, we want to examine how a changing environment affects service delivery, and ultimately, of course, want to provide an insight into public sector performance, because this is the ultimate rationale of any system of public administrations, obviously. So when you look at the main goals and the rationale of this chapter, you can already identify a little bit what the key components of our conceptual framework, of our approach, our way of analyzing this are. We talk about inputs, we talk about various processes and activities, we talk about the environment, and ultimately we talk about performance. There needs to be some sort of result, some outcome. And these components do make up our conceptual framework, which informed the entire benchmarking study, not just the public administration chapter, but also the other chapters. So there is a common frame, there is a common approach, which you will find time and again in the entire study. Now, I don't want to go too much into detail of this. This is a fairly standard model based on the core of an input and output relationship, whereby specific inputs of monetary and non-monetary nature are being transformed into specific outputs, which cause over a long period and a longer period of time certain results, outcomes, which of course affect also the perception of public service delivery among citizens, trust, satisfaction, and thereby sort of channel back and feedback into an environment in which those input, throughput, and output factors are being shaped. Now, as a model, this is a fantastic description because it includes various relationships between different elements of the framework, which is good for analysis and for deep data processing. At the same time, it is also of a high level of complexity, so perhaps not most ideal for a dashboard. So what we're trying to do with the dashboard is to preserve the model, but at the same time make it a bit more user-friendly, to simplify it a little bit. So this is a screenshot from the dashboard. This is the starting page. This is what you will see once you click on the dashboard and once you start exploring. And how you can do this. This will be part of the following presentation. But as you can see, the main components, the main elements of the model of the conceptual framework are preserved. And you can use the different components to explore various indicators for each of those components in an individual fashion for specific countries, and of course in a comparative fashion for each of those components individually. And on top of that, when you look at the bottom left side of the screen, you can then also look at various comparisons, plus relationships of different elements and different components for a deeper and more explanatory understanding of the model. Ivona referred a little bit to the results and the main findings of the study. I don't want to go too much into this. I also see, looking at the time, that we want to be on time to give enough time really to look at the dashboard. So I would like to invite you to perhaps also consult the report in case you haven't done so. The main conclusions do relate to important performance characteristics in the context of broader changes, broader challenges and trends in the public sector across various countries. Well, we see a mixed record, so to speak, of some indicators and some outcomes with overall an increasing performance over time, but at the same time also in some cases and in some areas and some indicators indicating decreasing performance. And we do, based on our results, our analysis, our findings, also provide a few conclusions, a few recommendations in the report. And you're warmly invited to consult the report for more details. And on top of that, you're of course also warmly invited to explore the dashboard. If you want to really go very deep into the data, the dashboard is a fantastic way of doing so. So again, thank you very much for your attention and for your time, for being with us today. I would like to hand over now to the dashboard team who will present the details of the dashboard and the functioning and how you can explore the data and all the richness of the data set, which is the foundation of our study. Thank you very much. Enjoy and good luck. And I would like to hand over now to the dashboard team. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. So now that we have a sort of overview of the benchmarking study in general, and also Christoph has given a good sort of summary of the specific public administration chapter itself, I think it's time for us to discuss the dashboard and how you can interact with the data. So I think the best way to do this would be to sort of walk you through a typical journey, starting on our website, and how you could, you know, I don't know, explore the data that we looked at, and it can work. So at the moment you're seeing APA's main page, and as Ivona pointed out, at the top of the screen is the international benchmarking study. And after this session, once you click on it, you will get to our main page that describes the entire benchmarking study. You can have a little bit of information about the study itself. And as we discussed, we're talking about the public administration chapter. And so I'm going to click on public administration, which will take me to the landing page for public administration. I didn't introduce the team that worked mainly on the dashboard. So Paolo and Bjorn, we worked together, all three of us, and designed the sort of journey through the chapter and the data. So on the landing page of the public administration dashboard, we'll see this sort of stylized version of the framework, which is here on the top. And this represents one of the journeys through the dashboard that you can take. The other journey is really, really flexible. You can choose all the indicators, compare all the countries, or you could look at different relationships that come to mind. You want to investigate, you think that certain things might have some sort of correlation. You can do that in an extremely flexible way in this second sort of journey. And I will first go through the first journey in our dashboard, and then we can present the rest. So the idea is to walk you through the thinking, walk you through the indicators that we presented and researched and yeah, we worked on. So I'm going to sort of act as one of you, and I'm going to start from this framework. And I think I'm interested in the output, for example, dimension, and I want to look at the good governance indicators. So I will click here on that, which will take me to a description page where you can learn a little bit about how we define output in the context of public administration. And there are a lot of different slides here, which you can then investigate more on. Before I continue, I'll just point out that the stylized framework is now at the bottom of the dashboard and can be used as a sort of navigation through the different elements of the framework. So I think that I'm interested in the good governance indicators, and I want to have a sort of overview of each country. So I'm going to click on this first card here, which will take me to a generalized page summarizing all the good governance indicators. In this case, we're starting with Greece. That's the one that is here at the moment. And this is obviously a Southern European country. And so we can see an overview of how Greece performs in the good governance indicators. Here we see that on average, they have a score of minus 0.02. As compared to the other regions, we can see that they have a slightly lower performance in control of corruption, and the same for the average of all 35 countries that we researched. But this is just for Greece, but I might be interested in another country. Let's say, for example, I'm interested in the Netherlands. I can click here, just quickly going through. Here we go. Whoopsie. There we go.
Oh, I was a bit shy today.
There we go. So we have obviously the Netherlands, where it's in Western Europe, and we can see here that, again, in control of corruption, their score is 2, which is higher than the regional average of Western Europe, and it's also higher than the sample average, which is of all the 35 countries. But maybe I'm not only interested in these average numbers, I want to see something that is not quite as static. Then we also, as we walk you through the journey of our chapter, we also present this data in a timeline, for example, where you can see over time how the Netherlands fared in control of corruption. Here we see that we have the country value. We can see it as compared to the regional average, which is a darker blue, the regional average, which is the orange, and the sample average here in the darker blue. So that is another journey. Here we have the other good governance indicators. And finally, in output, you could look at any sort of relationships. Here we present the ones that are in the chapter. So in this case, we have the control of corruption in 2020, and see if there's a relationship between that and effective government effectiveness. And this is presented in a scatter plot. And you can even sort of look at each of these sorts of spots and see which country and how they perform in both. Paolo will present later more about these scatter plots. But again, in this journey, we're walking you through the chapter itself. And so it's sort of a prescribed journey. I will hand over to Bjorn, but before I do that, I want to show you how we can sort of navigate through this and point out that down here we have these more explorative systems. And so you can navigate through the bottom of the screen. So by clicking home, I get back to our home page, which presents the two journeys. And here we have the same buttons. And I pass over to Bjorn to show you more.
Hello, thank you, Miranda. So yes, so that was following the story of that is already also presented in the report. And maybe you find there some indications, oh, maybe I can have a look onto the same data and find out more context that was maybe not directly looked at, or you're interested in a specific country. And this is why we made that second part available for you, so that you can jump into and look and find what is really of interest to you in your case specifically. This is one of our busiest slides. We're sorry for that, but we wanted to give you the full control about how and how to look at that data that is interesting to you. Here, the main part is here up here. You can again choose all of the different indicators that you've already seen in the report. So no data was added. It's purely the same data we looked at during our research, but now you have the control. You're in the captain's seat. And so I would now just, for example, look at the e-government index. Looking at an index, I can then, for example, if I want to, now it has an average of all of the regions, but maybe I'm interested in maybe Northern and Western Europe, the comparison. So I select what I'm interested in. I could also zoom into even more directly into the certain countries. But at the moment, I'm just interested in the regional comparison. And I can also, now at the moment, I'm looking at the full timeline. I could also margin it in if I'm really interested in a certain time period. Now I have that overview. This is where I have this overview table where that's already slightly visualized, but you also still see the numbers directly. If you're really interested in the details, you can also zoom into the detail table. You can see all of the values for all times, because up here it's an averaged value. For example, if I'm more interested up 2000, sorry, I have a camera in the way. If I'm only interested in this 10-year frame, then the numbers automatically adapt to your choices. So these are averages, but maybe I want to look now into the details. As you see, the numbers adapted. As you see, 2017 is not included. That was because for that year, or did I accidentally? No, then for that year, there was no data value. Now I know already a bit the numbers, but maybe I'm also more visualized, and also maybe I want to use it in a presentation. I want to have a more viewpoint over the time. To be honest, I maybe had to select two different regions because now it's relatively busy. But maybe we do the comparison in Northern Europe, Western Europe, so that you maybe see already, or we just zoom into Southern Europe directly. As you see, it is completely responsive, and it really the graphs, because it's your own choice what you want to look at. How the graphs look also depend a bit on what you want to look at. But we try to give you all of the elements to really zoom in, select for what you need and what you're interested in. And for the people that are really visually minded, like me, for example, I quite like the map feature where I see the different values placed on top of the countries. But with certain shading, if it goes higher or lower. This is not to not make it a normative statement. It's just the higher the number is, the darker the shading is in the blue. That's why I also always project up here the range for that indicator. So it's between 0 and 1. Will we go now jump into another one? That's a different indicator. The rest adapts again. So as well, adaptive is you always see the sourcing that is below. Where does the data come from? And here to the right, you see the countries with the biggest movements in that time period that you have selected. But again, it's fully responsive, so it will adapt according to your selection. So this is a bit like diving into the data itself, and my colleague Paolo will now, Paolo, sorry for that, will now dive into a bit more the relationships. So you can also use here the site navigation that you already used to from the other slides, jump in it, and then come back to it.
Thank you very much, Bjorn. So if we click on this button, we're redirected to a different page. And unlike the previous page, which Bjorn just presented, and which was more focused on the single indicators and their evolution across time and across countries, here we're more interested in the relationships between indicators. And these relationships are mainly visualized by means of a scatter plot, which is center stage on this page. So as you can see on the right-hand side, you can choose which indicators to assign to the x-axis of our scatter plot and to the y-axis of our scatter plot. And we can also choose in which years. So, for example, we can choose government effectiveness for the x-axis. And for example, we can choose the year of 2014, for example. And then you can go to the y-axis selection, and you can choose, for example, the happiness score, and you can choose if you want the year of 2018, for example. And so, as you can see, the correlation plot on the left changes according to your selection. And as you can also see, you have many dots, and each dot is situated at the intersection between the values of the x-axis and the values of the y-axis. And so, and then also each dot represents a country. So for example, here we have the country of Cyprus, and you can also notice that each dot is colored according to the geographic collocation of each country. An important warning about this is that when you choose your indicators, something might happen. For example, if you choose the average satisfaction with public services, you will then have the scatter plot empty. But this is not because of a malfunctioning of the dashboard. It's simply because there is no data for that indicator in that year, 2014. And so simply the relationship cannot be shown. But otherwise, you should always be able to see the scatter plot field if the data is indeed available for that year and for that indicator. Now we can turn to the bottom right of our page, where we have displayed the correlation coefficient. And so this is something for those of you who are more interested in statistical analysis. And as a reminder, the correlation coefficient measures the strength of the relationship between two indicators, and then you can also see here that there's more information about it. And so in this case, for example, we see a correlation coefficient of 0.92. And so this is just a strong and positive relationship between the two chosen indicators in the chosen years. And this is also clearly visually displayed by the spread of the dots on the scatter plot. And finally, a very important warning about this is that the correlation coefficient should not be interpreted causally. On the other hand, it should be seen more as a suggestion of a possible relationship between two indicators that might be the object of further research and analysis. And so with this, we conclude our presentation of the dashboard. We would like to thank you very much for your attention. We hope that we've been able to explain clearly the main features of our dashboard. We also hope that you will decide to explore it on your own later on. And finally, also a reminder is that in case you do have any suggestions or just comments about how to improve our dashboard, given that we will also be preparing other dashboards throughout the next months, as also Ivana will say very soon. Here, it's possible to insert your comments at the bottom of the page and then submit them. So again, thank you very much, and I will hand over to Ivana.
Okay, so there will be a possibility to ask you also if there is some problems or some question how to use our dashboard, right? Using the same website, the same button.
Indeed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So as we are coming to the end of our webinar, I would like to present you next steps. So very quickly, what exactly will happen right now, and what we can expect on our website. We just today very quickly presented the results of public administration chapter, and thank you very much, Christoph, for this interesting presentation. Thank you also, Miranda, Bjorn, and Paolo, for the presentation of the dashboard, how does it work, etc. And I just wanted to tell you that our dashboard will be updated every 2-3 months with the data from other chapters. So as presented in the introduction, we will continue with social safety, education, housing, etc. And once we introduce the data, we will organize another dissemination activity like the one we had today. And however, I would like to first invite you to our website where you can find the benchmarking study, the whole sub-study 2022, different chapters, and of course to explore what already our dashboard team mentioned, our dashboard. And as already mentioned before, also we are finalizing the study 2023. And at the end of this year, the latest in January 2024, we plan to publish its results. And it will be exactly the same with the sub-study 2024 and the update of all policy areas. So we will have the final conference of all chapters, of all data and everything ready in 2026. So I hope that you enjoyed our webinar today. And I would also like to thank you from my side to be with us today, to spend your time with us. I hope that all information we presented today will be very useful. We are waiting for any questions, comments you may have. And I would like to thank you and wish you nice afternoon and weekend. And we are almost on time with our ending timing. So thank you very much, and I hope also to see you next year in February for the final online conference presenting 2023 sub-study results. So thank you very much and see you very soon.